Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Virtual Art Camp. I am Courtenay Puckett, and this video is for the 5 to 7-year-olds. I'm going to teach you today how to do a marker print. We are studying today about the artist Hokusai. He was known for making beautiful prints. He lived in Tokyo, and today, oh yeah, you might also remember him because he did the Great Wave, which is a very famous woodblock print. And when he made his artwork, his prints, he followed ancient traditions, and he only used like 3 or 4 or 5 colors at the most. And he always wanted to show the relationship between people and nature, and he wanted beautiful, simple lines. And so that's really what we're going to be trying to make today. So if you have a piece of styrofoam in your art kit, that is what we're going to be using. Now this one is pretty small, so you might actually have the larger size. And if you want the larger size, it might be kind of too much for you. Now this is your choice. So if you are super good at art and you have lots of patience and diligence, go for the big one. But if you are a little nervous, then I would suggest cutting with scissors. You can just use regular scissors. Cut this big one in half so that you get a smaller sheet. And so if you cut it in half, you'll actually get 2 smaller ones, and then that'll actually be perfect if you are a new printmaker. However, if you've done this before and you're very confident, go for the big one. So by all means. So before we print with this is a piece of styrofoam. If you feel it, it feels different than a piece of paper. And we have to protect the styrofoam because any little scratch or puncture or nick or anything on the surface of this smooth styrofoam, all of those extra marks are going to be printed. And we do not want those extra little marks. So we're going to handle this carefully. We're going to not use our fingernail and not bump it and crease it. Make sure it's so smooth. Now, if you have a side that already has some dings in it, don't use that side to print with. Flip it over on the back and use the back side for your artwork. So we're going to protect that, and I'm just going to set it to the side. Over here, you can see it up there. I'm not going to touch it because I do want to protect it. So we're going to start with a sketch, and I have a full-size sheet of paper here. Now I know you cannot see it very well on the camera, so I'm actually just going to make mine a little smaller so you can see it better. There, does it all fit? Yes. Excellent. Now you are going to draw with a pencil, and we're going to look at one of his artworks. I wonder if I can bring it up on screen. No, it looks like I cannot. Okay, doesn't matter. It's okay. So if you remember one of his artworks, he incorporated Mount Fuji in his print. And today we are going to copy his famous artwork. Now his mountain picture, it started. There was basically just a big mountain, a volcano. It was Mount Fuji. That's where he lived. He lived in Japan. And that Mount Fuji was always in his prints. And then in his woodblock print, there was the big mountain. There were clouds in the sky. And then he had a few marks down here at the bottom to indicate trees. And that's the image we want to try to do today. When I'm going to draw with a marker, however, you draw with a pencil so that you can erase it easily if you need to. Okay, so instead of just doing a mountain that starts at the bottom and goes up and comes back down to the bottom, that's kind of a boring composition. So what we want to try to do is start our mountain on the side of our paper, maybe a little bit lower, maybe right about there, and then we're going to go up to do the peak of the volcano top, a little bit flat at the top, and then come down, and we're going to make it asymmetrical, which means we're not going to make it come down here to match this side. No, we're going to change it for a little bit more interest, and we're going to have it end at a different place. So I think I'm going to try to make mine end up there. All right, so here we go. Our first line, it's okay if it does not look exactly like mine. That's the top of my volcano. It's a little squiggle up there, and then it's going to come down, and I'm going to connect it over there on the side. Now yours, of course, can come down farther. Yours might look a little different than mine. Totally fine. This is your artwork. Okay, next, Hokusai, he indicated clouds. Now maybe you are used to doing puffy clouds like this, little marshmallow clouds, but that's really not the way that Hokusai drew them in this piece that we're trying to imitate. He actually made his clouds flat on the bottom and bumpy on the top. Okay, and he made, so this whole back area are filled with those type of clouds. He made some quite large, and then he made some very small, and he really filled up the whole sky with this beautiful little clouds. So I want you to try to draw the clouds like Hokusai. Some can be close together. Some can be, you know, spread out more. This is your design. Okay, so I think I like the way that is for mine. Now, of course, you could do as many or as few clouds as you'd like. Now, the last thing that he did in his is down here at the bottom, he put some trees, but he did not actually draw trees like a tree. He just indicated like little marks and lines like this at the bottom. Now, my little boy, when he was making his, he said, "Mom, I don't think those are trees. I think that's just grass." So in my imagination, I imagine them as trees, but of course you can imagine whatever you think these are. Maybe this is a valley of flowers. I don't know. That's the great thing about art, is we can all interpret it different ways and connect to it different ways. So in my mind, these are all trees. Okay, so this is my sketch. This is what I want my print to look like. Now it's time to actually do it on the styrofoam piece. I'm careful not to indent it or hurt it in any way. Now, the thing you have to remember about styrofoam is that you cannot erase. So whatever line you put on here, it has to stay. And if you make a mistake, you have to just work with it, and that's okay. Also, if you are drawing with a pencil on the styrofoam, it's okay to do a pencil at first. But you also, I would suggest working with a ballpoint pen. It has a tip like this. It's a little more sturdy, and it'll give you a nice smooth line. Whatever line you put on the styrofoam, it's going to print white on the actual print. So let me show you. Okay, my little boy, he drew a blue pin line on this mountain, right? And when it printed, we flipped it over. It's like a giant stamp. And you see here, his line that was blue on the drawing here on the styrofoam actually printed white. Because as you push into the styrofoam, you're indenting it and it's going down, and the color cannot get in that crack. Okay, you'll also notice on his, he said he wanted white clouds to be printed. So when he colored his clouds, he actually pushed down and colored them all in. But when I did mine, I said, I don't really want all my clouds to be totally white. So I left some of them not colored in, and you can actually see some of the sky poking through the middle section. So that's totally up to you how you want to do this. So go ahead now, draw your volcano shape onto your piece of styrofoam. Okay, and if you want to make lava coming out of the top, that's totally fine. It's up to you. You are the artist. Go ahead, do the clouds however you want. Okay, this is your artwork. If you want your clouds to be totally white, you are going to want to color them in, push the styrofoam down with your pen, and fill in that whole, sorry, my table's shaking a little bit. Fill in that whole entire cloud shape and push it in with your pen. Now you might need to adjust the pressure of your pen. You do not want to push holes into your styrofoam. Okay, that would be an accident if it happened, I'm sure. If it does happen, just be very careful with that area. You do not want to tear it any worse than it might already be. Okay, so you make your awesome art here. If you have any lines at the end of drawing that you think probably need to be pushed down a little bit more, you might want to go over it again with your pen a second time just to double check. See, I'm going over my cloud here because I need to double check to make extra sure that those lines are pushed down all the way. All right, now for down here, you of course can do whatever you want. I'm just going to fill up this area with my pretend trees, or as my little boy would imagine, he says that it's grass. Okay, so I'm happy with this. Of course, you can continue to work. I'm going a little bit fast because of time. Now, the fun thing next is coloring it. Now, remember, Hokusai, he only used 3 or 4 colors, and today I'm using green, purple, and orange. For this to work, it has to be washable. You have to use washable. If it's not washable, it will not work for marker printing. What you do is you just go ahead and color. You can color right over those lines you did. It's not going to be messed up. Color, color, color your entire, you know, whatever. I'm going to make an orange mountain. And then my sky, I've decided, is going to be purple because, you know, I'm making a little bit of a silly print with purple sky, totally fine. Okay, I'm going to fill in my sky. The great thing about markers is that you can really control where you put your color. So you can be as careful as you want. I'm coloring a little fast because of time. Now down here, I'm just going to color this grassy or tree area. And my marker can go right up on top of that orange if I need it to, however I want it to be. Okay, now it's gotten colored. I'm going to set it up here. This is the most important part of printing. When you get your sheet of paper, you need to wet it with a sponge. Now I have a sponge here from the kitchen. I've already made it damp. It's not drippy, but you're going to wipe your paper. I know you can't really tell on the camera, but because it's getting wet, a little bit damp, it's actually curling the paper just a little bit. That's okay, okay? You do not want this soggy. You want it just a little bit damp. Okay, when your paper is damp, you're gonna flip your styrofoam over onto the paper. You're going to firmly push. You're going to massage it a little bit, push. If you need to flip, if mom and dad are there, they can flip it over a little bit easily. Now you don't want that paper to slip once you start pushing. Massage the back. See, you can even see some of the color coming through. I'm not sure if this is going to be okay or not. Ooh, peel it up and look, we made a print. Now let me show you the different ways a print might look. This is kind of okay. You see how I have some splotches in here of white? That means my paper was not all the way damp enough in those areas, or perhaps I didn't push well enough. You can see here a really good example. This was printed very poorly. You see all the white sections here that should have been solid blue? It means my paper was not damp enough. This is an example of one that is perfectly damp. See how solid the color is? So you might have to do this a few times to get that just right. And it's really easy to do. As soon as you print it, you're going to have it looking like this. And if you need to try again, no problem. Just color it again. Of course, your second or third or fourth print you make, you can change the colors as much as you want and print this over and over. And that printmaking like this is so much fun because you can make the fronts of cards, for your friends. You can do different designs each time and it turns out different. Okay, have fun. Bye.